This ain't no squirrely amateur. This is a worker with a solid dog.
Hi, friends. It's me, Paul, host of the Baseball by Design podcast. Guess what? We have our 200th episode of Baseball by Design coming up, and I want to hear from you. We're going to be featuring listeners and minor league baseball logos that they love. I'm not asking you to pick your favorite. I'm asking you to pick one that you love and tell me about it. Send me a 1-minute audio clip. You can send it to my email at pauljcaputo@gmail.com, or you can send it to me on any of the socials if you follow me out there. Just go ahead and send me something about a minor league baseball logo that you love, and Dan and I will chat about those logos. All right, now let's get to the episode. Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent Paul Caputo, broadcasting live, as always, from the Sunday Helmet Hall of Fame in my basement in Fort Collins, Colorado.
And I am Dan Simon, broadcasting from the Studio Simon headquarters in Louisville, Kentucky.
Dan, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning to you, Paul. I am fan-freaking-tastic. Thank you.
Hey, today we're going to be talking about one of these teams that has an animal-based brand, even though the namesake is something else. This team is named for the fact that there's a lot of salt in the area. We're going to get into that in this episode. But they sort of took the salt and added dogs to it. The dogs don't really have anything to do with Lincoln, Nebraska. So it is a brand sort of like the River Cats, right? Like it's a random thing plus an animal. Have you ever done a random thing plus an animal?
I have. This is something that you have written about. I've seen this in your posts or stories or articles, whatever you call them, on sportslogos.net. The formula, the minor league formula.
Yeah.
Tell your listeners the formula.
I developed this in the 90s, and it doesn't necessarily still hold because of all the changes in the field. But the formula that I had for a while that I thought minor league teams were using to create their brands was town name plus significant geological, local natural feature plus random animal chosen out of a hat equals your minor league baseball team name. So Lincoln is the town. Salt is the geological feature, and dogs is the random animal pulled out of a hat.
Right. And the one you asked if I have ever done one, and I did, but it wasn't quite like that. The team we're referencing, or I'm going to reference here, is I should say past tense now, was the Lancaster Jethawks. But it was not that they were just going to do Jets and just added Hawks to it. This is how this happened. There is an Air Force base in Lancaster, California, not to be confused with Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where there's or
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Lancaster, California, Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Okay, there's those things. Well, you Philadelphians with the way you pronounce things. So the front office gentleman who I was dealing with on that project, I wasn't dealing with them.
I think you were.
No, you deal with a problem. They weren't a problem. Actually, they were.
You were working with this guy.
Yes. So they'd asked for several different directions to be executed, and one of them was based on a specific jet that was flown out of that Air Force base there called a Nighthawk. And given the name Nighthawk, what I did with the logo was I did a jet, but I gave it a hawk head with a beak on it. And when I was talking with the client about that, and I had mentioned they had asked me to do several different directions. To reference that logo, I referred to it as the Jet Hawk logo so that he knew which logo I was talking about. It's compared to one of the other, the other directions. And he said, Jet Hawk, the name was supposed to be Nighthawks, the Lancaster Nighthawks. But when I said Jethawks, he says, are you suggesting that as a name? And I said, No, I'm just referencing the logo verbally, so you know which one I'm talking about. And he says, "Well, I really like that name,"
Oh,
and so that ended up being the first team I ever named completely by accident.
that's a great story. And then that team lived on with that name. That's
Lived on past tense. It
all right.
died when I'm trying to think of the 1920, the 2020 contraction
Yeah.
by Major League Baseball. I believe that's when
Yeah.
they
They
ceased to exist.
they went away with the erstwhile Bakersfield Blaze. Pour one out for them.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
there is a team still in Bakersfield playing in, I believe, the Pecos League,
Mm,
independent.
all
I
right.
believe they're the Train Robbers.
The Bakersfield Train Robbers, and that team has bounced around quite a bit.
You know what? I couldn't tell you. That's an independent league far flung from where I now live. It was very close to where I used to live, but no longer so. I'm not as familiar with that league and that team as I might be with some others.
Dan, I'm just going to give you some information just completely off the top of my head here that this team was the Las Vegas Train Robbers from 2013 to 2015. And then just for one season, they were the Topeka Train Robbers in 2016. And then they moved to Bakersfield, where they are continue to be the Bakersfield Train Robbers.
Well,
So,
good on you because you were you had that in your head. I had
yeah,
no idea, and you were exactly right.
I sort of wasn't sure about exactly where, and then suddenly magically it just crystallized right there in my head. So, Dan, we're going to be talking with Lincoln Saltdogs lead producer Elijah Herbal. It's a great conversation. And then you and I are going to be back to have a studio Simon Stumper here. So this is a fun one. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're going to be back with a studio Simon Stumper. Dan, we'll see you shortly.
Okay, hurry up and get back to me.
We're going to do everything we can.
Okay, bye.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I am so pleased to welcome Elijah Herbal to the podcast. Elijah is the lead producer for the Lincoln Saltdogs. Elijah, how you doing?
I can't complain. It's been a long season. We got 100 games in the American Association that the Lincoln Salt Dogs play. We're coming up on the end of the season, so Labor Day is the final game. So we're kind of getting to the end of the grind of the season.
At the time of this recording, it is shortly before Labor Day. This will probably drop a little bit after Labor Day, so your season you'll be on a beach in the Caribbean somewhere with your feet up, drinking an umbrella drink, I guess, by the time this drops. So that sounds pretty good.
I'd like to think so, but then Husker football season starts up, and that always rules the roost here in Lincoln, Nebraska. So it's a busy fall. It's I guess the sports never stop around here. It's a big sports town.
Seems fair. Your role with the team as lead producer, it's not often that guests show up for Baseball by Design with the professional rig that you have going right now. What is it that you do for the Salt Dogs?
So the all the Lincoln Salt Dogs games, they are live on the air on 1240 KFOR here in Lincoln. We have a great history of trying to bring top-notch radio production and top-notch radio quality to the fans of the Lincoln Salt Dogs around town. That's one of the big focuses, both of Charlie Meyer, the team president, as well as Jim Abel, who owns the Lincoln Salt Dogs. So we take great pride in that. We've got a long tradition of winning the best radio broadcast in the American Association. So here at the studio, I mean, everything else is happening down at Haymarket Park, which I'm sure we'll get into here in a second. Haymarket's a great facility, but I'm hanging out back here in the studio. I got a team of a couple producers, and I kind of run the show, and we're back here. We make sure the radio broadcast is in top-notch quality. We make sure that the ads and all the advertisers are getting their spots in whenever they'd like. And at the end of the day, we just make sure that those that can't make it to the ballpark, those that are listening at home, get just as good of experience as you could expect from any other minor league team out there, or even some professional baseball teams like the MLB. I know we can't quite reach that level with some of the money that those teams have, but that's what we're shooting for.
Well, I appreciate you bringing the best of the best to the Baseball by Design podcast here. Let's get into this nickname here, this brand, the Lincoln Salt Dogs. The team's been around since 2001. You mentioned before we started recording that they are part of your childhood. You grew up with this team. You've not been with the team since then. You've been with the team since 2018. But given your fandom as a kid and your professional experience with the team now, I know you'll have great insight on this. What in the world is a salt dog?
You got to figure out where we're going to start this story at. What in the world is a salt dog? Okay, so you're actually talking to someone back in college. I've always been a history buff. I was a history minor back in college, broadcasting major, and I've always loved the history of the state of Nebraska, the city of Lincoln, the local history around here. And it's actually something not a lot of folks, even from Lincoln, would know, the history of Lincoln. That if you're familiar with how things kind of formed out here, cities and whatnot in the Midwest and out in the American West, so many of them form along major waterways. And then after the Transcontinental Railroad, you had a lot of cities that would form up along there because you need stuff to be able to get to the city, products, goods. You need a way to send it back east. So major waterways, such as, I mean, the Missouri River is a big one around here, which is somewhat nearby. And then the railroad. If you want to send stuff back east, you want to get stuff from the east, you had to be along the railroad. And Lincoln's one of those interesting ones where they're somewhat close to the railroad. They're somewhat close to the Missouri River. They're kind of close to the Platte River, but you're not actually there. So which makes Lincoln a little bit unique because it formed right after the Civil War. And what a lot of people don't know is actually the first settlers who came to Lincoln found a whole bunch of salt. There was a little creek that runs through town still here called Salt Creek. We have a lake that's out in the northwest side of Lincoln called Capitol Beach, which is actually a naturally saline lake. It's full of salt. And when the settlers showed up here, they found like kind of wetlands, an area that you could just see the salt on the surface. So they thought, man, we're going to set up salt mines around here. So the first industry within the city of Lincoln was actually kind of surface level salt mining. But the problem was these settlers were looking for the mother lode, kind of that sustainable thing. You know what? We can set up a big production, big factory around here, and we can just provide all the salt for the Midwest. The problem is there is no mother lode. There was, if you dive way back in the history of the Midwest, Nebraska used to be covered by an ocean. I think we're going back to 100 million years ago. There was an ocean that covered the Midwest. There was an ocean that covered Nebraska. And here around Lincoln, it actually left below the surface a shale deposit of salt that would come up to the surface via our Salt Creek. It would find itself into the wetlands. It found itself into Capitol Beach. So, long story short here, that's why I didn't know how far I should go back. Long story short,
Millions of years is great. Keep going if you need to. We'll go all the way to the Big Bang.
yeah. I say long story short, but I've made a long story long here. Lincoln was founded based around the salt that was here, and industry has gone well beyond that. There was not enough salt to produce what would end up being, you know, a factory or a business that could support an entire city. But that's why the people first came. You ended up being able to find ways around that whenever they realized, you know what, the salt couldn't be sustainable. And there's no longer any salt production around Nebraska, but there's still Salt Creek, there's still Capitol Beach, and it's still kind of a part of the history of Nebraska. So whenever this team formed around 2000, 2001, I think was the first year of the Salt Dogs, they're looking for a team name. They opened it up to the public, and I believe the suggestion in was the Salt Cats that came in from somebody around here that knew the history of Lincoln. But Jim Abel, the owner of the Lincoln Salt Dogs, he preferred dogs, so it got flipped from the Lincoln Salt Cats to the Lincoln Salt Dogs, and that's the name that stuck. And it's been around for 24 years, and the Salt Dogs going into their 25th season in operation next year.
That is, I love that it was like, a coin flip, cats or dogs. What's it going to be? The history that you explain, I'm here in Fort Collins, Colorado, probably about a 5 hour drive maybe from Lincoln. Before I wrote about this team for sportslogos.net, I had never heard that story before about, the vast inland sea leaving a thin layer of salt that, they thought was going to be the mother lode and then turned out not to be, but like, all right, we're here anyway. We might as well keep this settlement here. How many people in Lincoln know that history? How prominent is that as a part of life in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Honestly, it's not that prominent. I'm a history buff, so I've always loved it. I mean, I grew up, we have the Nebraska State Historical Society here in Lincoln and in the History of Nebraska Museum as well, both here in Lincoln that you can go find. I loved getting out and checking out the history as a youngster of what Lincoln was. And we had little units back in elementary school that would dive into the history of Lincoln and the history of Nebraska. But I'm also the kid that, whenever history time showed up in class, I was always the one that I was on the edge of my seat. I was excited. I'd venture to say among Lincolnites, you got to put it less than 25% would know the true history of where Lincoln came from, the history of the salt. People know Salt Creek. people know that Capitol Beach is salty, but I don't know if they quite know why that. Hey, man, whenever settlers first showed up here in Lincoln, they thought they had just struck it rich with all the salt that they could find here and wasn't a huge supply. But no, it's not one of the more known things. I think more Nebraskans than you'd think would know that Nebraska used to be an ocean. But the fact that Lincoln was founded based on salt is a little bit more obscure.
That's like one of my favorite sort of tropes when you visit anywhere in sort of like the West, I guess, that this whole area was underwater for millions and millions of years, and finding shark fossils from millions of years ago. It's such a wild thing, in the West out here. The brand itself, obviously, like you say, it is a dog. Is it a particular kind of dog?
No, it is just a generic dog that I think it was some artist's idea of, this is a kind of a fierce looking dog.
Ranger Amy Burnett, who is the wildlife correspondent for Baseball by Design here, we're always fostering dogs, and she asks me what my favorite breed of dog is, and I say brown dog. That's the kind of dog I want, is a brown dog.
You and I are the same.
Now, this brand has had a certain amount of longevity here, right? Like the team's been around since '01. You've basically had two brands in that time. And the main switch over to the current brand, you're wearing it on your shirt right now, is that happened in 2017, I believe.
Yep.
So that's a year before you got there. Understanding that you were not there, you weren't part of the decision professionally. Do you know what the thinking was in why that brand was updated?
Just a little bit of modernization was all they were looking for. They kind of wanted to update the look, update the feel of the Lincoln Salt Dogs. They wanted the logo that you see I'm wearing here. I know the people won't be able to hear it, but I think you can see me wearing it here. It's forward facing and it's got a little bit more of a fierce look to it than the old logo. I don't think it was anything other than, what, this team has been around for almost 20 years now. The logo was beginning to look just a little bit dated, and they still do use the old logo kind of around Haymarket Park. You can still find it around there. But the new logo you find it on the hats for the Lincoln Salt Dogs. You find it on all the team apparel. It's just a newer looking, kind of cleaner, modern logo that's a little bit more all encompassing than that previous logo.
The term salt dog, I remember this from when I was writing the article for Sports Logos, has some other meanings. I found when I was Googling it, when I wrote this article, and that article is from 2016, so almost a decade ago, right? But I remember there were two things. One was an experienced sailor is a salt dog, and the other is a kind of a drink. A salty dog is a drink with gin and vodka, gin or vodka, I should say, with grapefruit juice. Do those alternate meanings of salt dog ever come up in conversation?
Not really. No, you get the question sometimes from visiting play-by-play people. You get the question from sometimes new players coming in. I mean, what the heck is a salt dog? And I don't know, for someone who grew up around here, I guess I never quite questioned it. I mean, I was 2 years old whenever the team was founded. I always knew what the Lincoln Salt Dogs were. You never kind of like, I always assumed there was some meaning behind it. And then you get a little older and you dive into the history and you start working for the Salt Dogs. And I think the history behind it's even cooler. But no, you would be surprised how many people will ask you, even folks from around here, man, what is a salt dog anyway?
The team itself, as part of the community, first of all, it's been around for, quarter century with a brand that has largely stayed intact, updated visually, of course, a few years back. But, having that sort of brand equity in this name and the identity of the team and being part of the community for 25 years, what is the role of the Salt Dogs in the community, not just like as a baseball team in the American Association?
Well, there are plenty of, and you have to give a shout out to Jim Abel, who founded the Salt Dogs. He's the owner of the Salt Dogs. Really, really strong connections to the city of Lincoln. He's forged over the last 25 years, both with brands and with families. I mean, it's a great opportunity. Every single summer, you will have, I mean, every single night, it feels like there's a new company having their work retreat out at Haymarket Park, bringing their team to come see the Salt Dogs. And I know it's not unique to the Salt Dogs, but I remember growing up playing youth baseball. About every single team in Lincoln once a season, you got to go out with the Salt Dogs. You got to go run out with the player on the field. You got to stand with him for the national anthem, get your name called in the PA. That was one of the most common things about every single youth baseball player in Lincoln got to do at least once a summer was, hey, it's your night to go out and hang out with the Lincoln Salt Dogs, go meet the team, run out in the field. So you have that, you have the brand associations. It's just a fantastic family event as well. Folks know it's going to be a family-friendly environment. There's something for all ages at Lincoln Salt Dogs. There's even a jungle gym out in right field that the kids can go and play. So it just comes down to a strong relationship between the people of Lincoln, business owners, employees, families, kids, that has been on the forefront of the Lincoln Salt Dogs from the start. Is they want to be a part of this community. It's not a team that is served by the community. It's a team that serves the community. And there's a difference there. It's not, hey, we need to get money from the people of Lincoln. It's, hey, let's forge a relationship with the people of Lincoln, give them something they can do all summer long. I love the city of Lincoln. I've lived here all my life, but I'm not going to act like it's the most exciting place to live. So it's just a great thing to have a professional baseball team here that cares about their fans, that wants an experience for their fans, that benefits both sides.
Not only do you have the brand equity in this team of, 25 years, but you also, the team doesn't really water down its brand at all with alternate identities or, minor league baseball. And I don't begrudge it at all, right? Like I love the alternate identities. I love, teams trotting out as the Beer City Bunghammers or whatever in West Michigan. But the Salt Dogs don't do a lot of alternate identities. They pretty much stay tried and true with their Salt Dogs brand. So not only is it a long lasting brand, but it is one that is, consistently out there on the field every single weekend. What is the team's philosophy on that? Why is it important that that they really stay true to that brand identity?
I think it comes down to the heart of what the American Association wants with their baseball teams, which is they want real baseball. The American Association was one of the last leagues to adopt the pitch clock and some of these new pace of play rules. That they want baseball in its purest form. And the Salt Dogs, they do their occasional promotion nights. Like I know this year there was a Disney night. It comes down to about one a year. Disney night and the Lincoln Salt Dogs for one night only for the entire season turned into the Lincoln Walt Dogs in honor of Walt Disney. A couple seasons ago, there was the Swift Dogs night, which is a Taylor Swift night featuring a giveaway of 2 seats to a Taylor Swift concert. So it's not that they're completely against the idea of that. It's that is not what you build the brand of a baseball team on. And it's not what the American Association wants from their teams either. They want pure baseball. And the Salt Dogs, they have ways to get people in that are not these gimmicky type setups. And I don't say that with any like distaste towards us. I think they can be a lot of fun, but gimmicks are not what build your rapport within the city of Lincoln with your fan base. I mean, every single night you come to a Salt Dogs game, 6 nights a week, which the American Association takes off days Monday, but 6 nights a week, there is some sort of promotion to get you in there. Fireworks Friday is a great one. Thirsty Thursday with great beer deals is another fun one for, especially at the end of the semester in the spring and the beginning of the semester for college students. They love getting out on Thirsty Thursdays. You have a Family Fun Day Sunday, which if you bring the family down, you're going to get yourself a really great deal to go watch a baseball game. Triple Play Tuesday. I mean, there's a promotion every single night. Anytime you want to come to a Lincoln Salt Dogs game, there is a reason to come in and a deal that can get you in the door and make it a fun experience for you, for your friends, for your family. I guess the best way to put it is those gimmicks, they can be fun, but it kind of takes away from the baseball, and that's not what the American Association wants.
All right. I'm gonna make a case for one gimmick though. I think the Salt Dogs would be ripe for this. A what might have been night when you play as the Salt Cats.
I'll send that to Val. I'm not sure how Jim Abel would feel about that, but head of ticketing, Val, she comes up with some of those ideas. I'll send that her way and see what she thinks about that. Maybe you can get all the cat fans out there. There's always bark at the park. Why not have meow at the park?
You could have, and the Omaha Storm Chasers and I came up with this separately, independently of one another, but we both came up with take meow to the ball game. I need to sue them for copyright infringement because I thought that was my idea. And then I saw them promoting it. I was like, no, but yeah, take me out to the ball game night on Salt Dogs, Salt Cats night. Or the opposing team could be the Salt Cats, and then you guys could get out there and fight like cats and dogs.
I'm not sure about that one. It'd be tough to get into the teams in the league to be a part of that one, but you never know.
Elijah, I'm giving you all these for free. I'm not sure what the problem is here. So, Elijah, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. First, where can people find you and the work that you do online?
So I am all over the place. First off, if you want to stream a Lincoln Salt Dogs game online, kfornow.com is the place to hear the radio broadcast. You also have aabaseball.tv, where the American Association streams their games in video form for free for you. Sign up for an account and you can go watch all of those games. So that's a great place. I'm also, when I'm not working for the Lincoln Salt Dogs, I am basically doing talk radio, talking about the Nebraska Cornhuskers all year round. So you can find that with the Average Joe Sports Show. If you're into Husker football or Husker sports or anything like that, it's a shot in the dark, but you never know. Check out the Average Joe Sports Show, or you can find me on Twitter at Herbal Essences. I like to have fun on there.
Herbal essences. You get people who follow you for the wrong reason, I assume, right? Like people actually
Oh,
looking. Yeah.
the amount of people that tag me in the photos of their hair saying, "Love your new product." It's good for the brand, though.
I guess so. I love it. And how about the Salt Dogs? Where can people find the Salt Dogs?
Well, Haymarket Park in
Oh,
Lincoln, Nebraska is a fantastic place. If you ever find yourself rolling through, Lincoln is a fantastic place to catch a ball game. If you want a quick story here, we can dive way back in the history. I'll give you the abridged version, but Haymarket Park is mixed use. Both the Lincoln Salt Dogs and the Nebraska Cornhuskers play their baseball games there year after year after year. It is winning the best playing surface in the American Association. It has great amenities. One of the best places you can get out and catch a baseball game around the Midwest, in my humble opinion. I've seen a good number of the ballparks around here. It's fantastic. It was opened. If you're familiar with college baseball, Dave Van Horn, who is the baseball coach at Arkansas, he took the job at Nebraska, I believe, going into the 1998 season, and very quickly imparted his brand on Husker baseball. There had been a long push to get professional baseball back in Nebraska. There was, or I guess back in Lincoln, I should say, to be more specific. There was some affiliated baseball back in like the early 1900s that played in Lincoln under a couple different names. So they, I believe, ended their run in Lincoln in the mid 1960s, and there had been a desire to get professional baseball back in Lincoln. Sherman Field, which is where a lot of high school and Legion baseball is played nowadays, kind of had been outgrown for what professional baseball could be. But then Dave Van Horn got Nebraska baseball rocking and rolling. They started playing well, making regionals, making super regionals, eventually making some College World Series runs. And as that kind of kicked off, it really jump started the idea back in Lincoln of, man, we should get a professional baseball team back here. So Haymarket Park was built. It opened in 2001. Both the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Lincoln Salt Dogs, who were founded to kind of go fill that stadium all summer long, share the venue. It's great to have professional baseball back. You asked the question earlier, and I probably should have mentioned it, the brand equity. Lincolnites wanted professional baseball back here in Lincoln. Haymarket Park was the way to go and do that, and it's a great venue. I know the University of Nebraska loves it. I know the Lincoln Salt Dogs love it. It's a great place to catch a ball game, and it's been the home of the Lincoln Salt Dogs since the Salt Dogs founded back in 2001. So that's where you can find the Lincoln Salt Dogs. Check out a game there. If not, you can check out everything with the American Association. As I said, the American Association's website, and then aabaseball.tv is a great place to watch some American Association games.
you know, I had every intention of asking you about Haymarket Park. And like I said, it's not that far from me, so I feel like I need to find a way to get to a game there. Like it's embarrassing that I haven't been to a Salt Dogs game yet. But that question was on the list of ones I wanted to ask you, so I'm glad you got to it anyway. I appreciate that.
A lot of people ask they ask what does the Salt Dogs mean? They ask what's Haymarket Park? Why is it called that? So I'll give you one more quick story.
Let's do it. Haymarket Park.
It's the industrial area of downtown Lincoln, full of warehouses, full of manufacturing, all these sorts of things. Back in the day was called the Haymarket. It's kind of to the west of Nebraska's Lincoln campus, west of main downtown, west of the Capitol. And about 30 years ago, this has been the 1990s, there's a big revitalization process down in the Haymarket. So now you can find a whole bunch of restaurants and bars and great hangout spots down in the Haymarket. And Haymarket Park is you walk past the Nebraska's basketball arena, Pinnacle Bank Arena, over two bridges, and then you're into the parking lot for Haymarket Park. So it's right next to Lincoln's Haymarket. It was kind of built that same time. They were trying to revitalize the Haymarket. So the name stuck, Haymarket Park, and it is fantastic for the city of Lincoln. You get tailgating for Husker football games in the parking lots there in the fall. You get baseball games all spring and summer. They just this year moved Lincoln's annual fireworks show for the 4th of July to Haymarket Park, giving it a place for people to go out and watch the fireworks on the 4th of July. So, fantastic venue, great name, and it's so close to the Haymarket. You can walk across a bridge or two and go hit the nightlife in Lincoln after a Lincoln Salt Dogs game if you so choose.
Man, and this episode's going to drop, like I said, you know, in September, right around when football season's getting ramped up. So that sounds like a great excuse to go hang out and do some tailgating over there. It sounds like a fantastic environment. I can't wait to get out to it. I brought a whole bunch of hair care product questions, but I'm going to scrap those for you. So
Not the guy for those.
I'll send them to Twitter. Elijah, thank you so much. This has been great.
Paul, thank you so much for having me. Baseball by Design, great podcast. Everyone out there listening, big shout out.
Thank you, Elijah. I appreciate that. All right, everyone, welcome back. It's time once again for Studio Simon Stumpers with Dan Simon, designer extraordinaire, putting his headphones back on here after a little bit of a break, ready for a Studio Simon Stumper from the Studio Simon headquarters, which, as you listeners know, is the source of so many great logos in minor league baseball. And here you are taking time out of your very busy schedule, which I know is very busy because we were talking about it. You're here to give us a trivia question, as you do every single week on Baseball by Design.
Every single week. And here I am back again, looking forward to quizzing you on the Lincoln Saltdogs. So there have been teams in Lincoln, Nebraska, professional baseball teams specifically, that go back to 1886. And they've gone by names including the Senators, Chiefs, Ducklings, Tree Planters, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, Salt Dogs, the name of the present team for the past 25 years. So with that in mind, our Studio Simon Stumper today asks, of all the names professional baseball teams in Lincoln have gone by, which is second to Salt Dogs in terms of longevity, with 16 years under its historical sobriquet belt? Is it A, Lincoln Loggers, B, Lincoln Lynx, or C, Lincoln Continentals?
Huh. Well, Lincoln Loggers is hilarious. And by virtue of being hilarious, I'm going to eliminate it. The Lincoln Lynx, can I get a spelling on that, Dan? Is it Lynx or Links?
Being that this would have been a while ago, they did not yet have, they were not, what's it called, prescient enough to end names in an X or a Z or whatever.
Okay.
So no, it's Links.
Links. Okay.
Or maybe it's not. It could be made up.
Or it's made up.
But if it wasn't made up, or if it isn't made up, it's spelled Links.
Okay. So I am going to eliminate the Lincoln Loggers, but maybe I shouldn't, right? Like I eliminated it because Lincoln Logs were a fun toy that I played with, and I just figured Lincoln Loggers. I don't think there was a lot of logging in Lincoln, Nebraska, though, with all that salt-covered ground. I think probably logging was not an industry there. So I'm going to continue to stand by eliminating loggers. The Lincoln Lynx, Links. I get it. Isn't Lincoln Continental a kind of car?
Do I need to, should I answer that question for you?
No, don't answer that question. I think a Lincoln Continental is a kind of car, which means that when you first read them, God, they're all bad in their own ways.
Bad how?
Well, not bad, but they all Lincoln Lynx is just very simple, right? And this could have been a while ago, and they went with like very simple names, like for basically like no reason, and they were often.
Well, keep this in mind.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not necessarily trying to help you, but when you say it's a simple name, they've been the Salt Dogs for 25 years.
Yeah.
So we do know that this is at the very least 26 years old.
Right.
If not longer. So
Yeah.
doesn't come from today's day and age of, as you like to refer, wacky brand identities.
The wacky era.
Minor league baseball landscape.
I'm going to say that Lincoln Continentals, which sounded good to me at first, and now I think it sounded good to me because I'm pretty sure that's a car. I'm going to eliminate that because it's a car. I'm going to eliminate Lincoln Loggers because it was a toy and because I don't think there was logging going on in the salty terrain of Lincoln, Nebraska. And Lincoln Lynx, I'm going to say that was a team like in the 20s, like from 1920 to like 1936 or something. So that's going to be my answer, Dan. I'm not at all confident, but I'm going to go Lincoln Lynx, played in the 20s.
Paul Caputo, I knew when I asked this question, you would have no idea. This was not one that maybe you knew. You just couldn't know this unless it maybe came up in your conversation with somebody who you were interviewing from the team, and I was not expecting this to come up at all. But I'm going to say this was the most amazing sussing job you have ever done. Um, Down to when you imagined when this might have been used, you almost hit those years exactly.
Wow.
So check this out. Now, first of all, Lincoln, so you're correct. It is the Lincoln Lynx is the correct answer. The Lincoln Loggers, even though logging probably was never an industry there, the name does make perfect sense for a team in Lincoln, Nebraska. I don't know if this is, as I think we've already established, I am not privy to the conversations you have with prior to me doing the stumper. After our prelude at the beginning and prior to my stumper, I don't know any of the conversations you've had with your guests until I listen to the episode once you drop it. So I don't know if this was discussed or not, but you would think Lincoln, Nebraska has no relation to Abraham Lincoln because what does he have to do with Nebraska? It is Lincoln, Nebraska is named after Abraham Lincoln. They used to be called, I believe, Lancaster. We were just talking about that. I believe it was, I'm almost 100% that it used to be called Lancaster, Nebraska. But then when was Lincoln assassinated? 1865? 2 years after he was assassinated. Lancaster, Nebraska was vying to be the state capital. And in doing so, they figured they would have a better luck getting appointed, named the state capital if with the name Lincoln, and they changed it to Lincoln in honor of the recently assassinated president of the United States. So naming the team the Lincoln Loggers would have made sense because there is a direct connection to Abraham Lincoln. Okay.
Okay.
Lincoln Continentals, you are correct. That's a car. But I was originally going to make that made up name the Lincoln Town Cars. but I actually thought Lincoln Continental sounds like a genuine name for a team.
It did. And
So-
I was trying to think if it was like if Lincoln was on the Continental Divide somewhere, maybe, and it's too far east for that. So I did toy with that one in my head a little bit.
Okay, but instead you went with Lincoln Lynx, and you speculated. This sounds like a name that could have been used from, I think you said, like from 1920 to 1940. It was used not consecutively because there were some breaks in here. It was used several times for several different teams in several different leagues from 1917 to 1939. So you really nailed that. So it was. I think I mentioned in the question that it was used for 16 years. So
Yeah.
1917 through 39, that's 22 years. So for 16 out of 20, actually 23 seasons, they were the Lincoln Lynx.
The Lincoln Lynx. Yeah, that's absolutely like some like shorthand thing that some journalist came up with, and it sort of stuck. And Dan, that was a good
Well,
one. That
Okay,
was-
but
Oh.
this leads, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this
Yeah,
leads,
no.
I've got a question here. I don't want to belabor the Studio Simon Stumper segment, but we haven't mentioned fifth grade Will in a while, who is no longer fifth grade Will. He is now sixth grade
Sixth
Will.
grade Will.
Hello, Will. I hope you're listening, and I hope
Will,
you're
and
enjoying
Will's
this
dad.
podcast. And Mr.
Mr.
Sixth
Will.
grade Will. Would somebody like sixth grade Will know what Lincoln Logs are? Is it still a thing? Do children now? I don't know that in sixth grade you'd be playing with Lincoln Logs anymore, but how old are you in sixth grade? You're 12? No, less?
Yeah. No, I think you're about 12.
Somewhere
It's-
around there.
Yeah,
So you're done. if Lincoln Logs were still around, you're done playing with them. That's a younger child toy, but it wouldn't have been all that long ago that sixth grade Will might have played with them. To kids nowadays, like Legos are still a thing. They were a
Right.
thing when I was a kid, when you were a kid, and if anything, they're bigger than they ever were. But does anybody play with Lincoln Logs anymore? I'm sure they exist, but does anybody buy them for their kids?
I can tell you that I don't think that my kids know what Lincoln Logs are, but I will also tell you this, Dan. I just texted them to ask them that question. Do they know what Lincoln Logs are?
You texted the sixth grade Will family?
No. I'm sorry. I texted my children. So I will report back, Dan, with whatever I learn regarding do my kids know what Lincoln Logs are. I don't recall my kids, who are a senior and a freshman in college right now, so older than sixth grade Will by several years, and I don't recall them playing with Lincoln Logs.
Okay.
But it's a good question.
My children did, but my children are older, so.
Right. I played with them.
Think about that. It's such a simple toy, and it used to amuse us, but
They were great.
but I don't know, given everything that kids have today, boy, that's a dinosaur of a toy.
It is. And I remember being frustrated with them even like when I was little, right? Like there was really just only so much that you could
Well, and it's also very precarious, it's like they weren't built for, it wasn't sustainable.
Right.
Those things, you just touch them and they fall down. So, okay, enough about Lincoln Logs and all that.
Dan, thanks so much as always. Ton of fun. And guess what? You're going to be back next week. Appreciate all that you do. And I haven't said this in a while. Go follow Dan on social media, on Instagram at studio_Simon. Dan, we'll see you next week.
And I'm looking forward to that. I haven't posted on Instagram for a while. I really need to do a post. So these people you're sending my way will have something fresh to look at. So, bad on me.
You got a couple weeks before this episode goes live, Dan. So there's time yet to go post some things.
Okay. You go post some things, and I'll see you next week.
See you next week. Hey friends, it's me, Paul, again. Because I am the sort of person who needs closure on anecdotes, I wanted to report back on the text that I sent my children asking them if they knew what Lincoln Logs were. And the answers came in. Olivia, age 21, yes, of course. We used to love playing with them all the time. And Maya, age 18, Lincoln Logs used to be the only thing we did at Grandma and Dad's house. So clearly my children have a better memory of the toys they were playing with when they were little than I do, but they remember Lincoln Logs. All right, we'll see you next week.